Have you ever dealt with an injury, back pain, shoulder, wrist, elbow, the constant tennis elbow, or even ankle sprain? Why do so many tennis players feel like their bodies break down when it matters most? Or have you ever had that ongoing injury that just keeps coming back? It's reoccurring over and over and over. What if I told you is not just physical? No, seriously. I know that's weird to think about, but walk along with me and keep an open mind as I am here to share with you why HTP podcast is not just your regular podcast. It is so personal and it is a huge part of my own story in creating and starting this podcast. As a former professional tennis player and high performance coach, I was used to pushing through everything, right? Pain, you ignore it, keep pushing. Fatigue, get up and go anyways, keep pushing. And that's what we're taught. That's what this culture is all about in tennis. And at the same time, this is a big reason why this culture in tennis needs to change. It's not healthy physically and mentally. But what I didn't understand at the time was that my body was trying to talk to me for years and I just wasn't listening. For nearly 10 years, I dealt with chronic back pain. I tried everything. And when I mean everything, everything besides surgery. I was not willing to do surgery. So I was open-minded enough, though, to try a lot of different avenues between conventional medicine, going to a doctor, going to physical therapy, going to a chiropractor, going to acupuncture, getting massages. You name it, I tried it. But I was never getting any long-term relief. It was always short-term. And I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to fix what I thought was purely physical. Even growing up in a holistic household, I still didn't fully grasp this concept of a mind-body connection until this injury. I remember back in 2018, I was trying to get out of bed to put on my workout clothes and I couldn't. I broke down in tears. It was a worst day of my life. I thought, why is this happening to me? What am I doing wrong in my life for my body to be screaming at me like I'm doing something wrong when I've been told everything that I'm doing is right? It hurt to move, to put my socks on, to put my workout clothes. And in that moment, something clicked. There is something deeper here than just physical. And I was willing to go down that rabbit hole of exploring the mind-body connections. I tried breath work, meditation, essential oils, sound healing, even getting certified as a NASM personal trainer. Well, because, my background is exercise science, so it only made sense. But what eventually clicked for me was getting certified in Reiki. Yes, Reiki. Never heard of it. It is a mind, body, spirit form of energy healing. Yeah, energy healing. Oh my God, I know. And what I also realized is I'm a highly intuitive person. I feel energy from other people. I know this sounds crazy to the average tennis person, even to the point where my assistant, ChatGPT, said, you might not want to say that. Tennis people might get a little freaked out. And I'm like, well, this is me. I like to be authentic and transparent with what I bring to this podcast, and I'm not going to shy away from who I am and who I have become, because that's what we need in this world is authenticity now with all this AI. Chat GPT didn't like that answer. But being highly intuitive also shifted for me. It gave me a deeper understanding than I could ever relate to anyone else. And I was not brought up in a world like that. So even with that sounding weird as someone being psychic, is not just about telling someone's future, just like we have different tennis coaches, different doctors, there are different psychics. What I started to understand in working with Reiki and having these intuitive abilities was that I started to see how my thoughts, my emotions, and my stress were showing up in my body and people that I worked with. As I worked through anxiety, pressure, and negative thought patterns I had carried for years as an athlete, and I didn't know it. It was being stored in my body, and I didn't know it. But as I started to go deeper into this rabbit hole, my body started to heal. I had to take a break for tennis for some time, and that was crucial. It was life altering. Felt like being stabbed in the back. It felt like my world was collapsing. And my identity as a tennis player and as a tennis coach was no longer the same. I had to work through going through an identity crisis. And no, this isn't about identity as what is talked in the mainstream media. No, this is not that. This is your own root of who you truly think you are and the conditions that surround you, not what other people are telling you. So it is a completely internal switch. And as I worked through this healing of my body and my thoughts, I was finally starting to get to the root cause of where this chronic back pain was coming from. And that's where I started to see that the mind and body are not separate. They are constantly communicating, whether we are playing on the tennis court or asleep in bed. And in tennis, we are constantly told to stay focused, be tough, keep grinding, fix your technique, because that's what's going to win you matches. But no one is actually teaching players what's happening to your body under pressure, why your breathing is costing you matches, and why your technique breaks down in matches, but it's perfect in practice. You can play amazing in practice, but feel like a completely different player in a match. And I knew this needed a voice because I lived it. I struggled with it, and I saw how many players I had coached were struggling too. My whole life, I had questioned, why am I playing well in practice, but not in matches? Same thing with my players. Why does it feel like I'm choking and I can barely get a serve in? It's like, this is why I created Holistic Tennis Performance Podcast. This is where we talk about the mind-body connection, the nervous system, pressure, performance, recovery, and the things that most tennis players are never taught. And this is something I have been reminded of again recently with a concussion I experienced this past year. It was another moment when my body forced me to pause, to breathe, and to listen because your body is always communicating with you. At first, it's quiet, very, very gentle. But if you ignore it, like any alarm system, it gets louder and louder and louder until you have no choice but to pay attention. So, through this podcast, my goal is simple to help tennis players understand what's happening inside their mind and body together as one, to give you tools, perspectives, and conversations that go beyond traditional coaching, and to help create a new era of tennis performance because it's not just about working harder, practicing more hours, and perfecting your technique. It's about learning how to perform under pressure, recover properly, and actually understand your mind and body. So we're just getting started here, and I hope you'll be a part of this journey as the HTP podcast continues to grow through every episode, every story, and every conversation. If this resonated with you, share it with a player, parent, and coach who needs to hear this new era of tennis performance. And make sure, of course, to follow HTP Podcast for more episodes on how to train your mind and body for competition. I'll see you in the next episode. Please share, like, and subscribe. As always, till next time.